I felt like an imposter. What am I doing with these clothes on? Like I got some job, like I have a career, like I am successful at anything. That's really what went through my mind at that moment. And I thought to myself, you know, they're looking at me because I'm not supposed to be representing whatever this looks like somebody who has a job in whatever the business world. Five, four, three, two, and one. Hey guys, welcome back to the Way Podcast with your host Jim Roar. Today is more of a different episode. It's just me. Um, I thought I'd switch it up a bit. We've had mostly just recurring guests or brand new guests on each episode, and I thought that it'd be interesting to try this solo episode. So, yeah, today I'm going to be talking kind of just my thoughts, me being honest on how I'm feeling right now, and a few other things I want to discuss. So, yeah. So, the podcast is on episode 29 as of recording this episode. And it's kind of crazy how we got to this point. I didn't really expect, honestly, for this to last this long. Um, Thank you guys for real. It's been it's been amazing. Just talking to so many interesting people, and now at episode this would be 30 if I release this. It feels as if we've come a long way. It's been almost a year and a half. And I want to give you my thoughts on the current state of the podcast. So, initially, the way was founded on the concept of the way from the book of Five Rings, where I was first introduced to this, I guess, as a word to describe someone's path in life. And the idea behind it is to take and learn from other people who are on different paths and apply it in our own lives. However, I have been thinking every 10 episodes, I start to think that should I go more niche oriented? Should I stay this sort of broad with different experts coming on and people I know? Or should I go more specific? I've been thinking about starting, maybe shifting strictly to martial arts, maybe. Um, but yeah, that's just something on my mind about the podcast. Just let me know, guys, just in the comments if you see this portion. Let me know in the comments or wherever this goes that if you want more niche episodes focused on specific topics, and if so, what kind of topics. And this leads me into how I'm currently feeling at the moment. And this is kind of me just airing out my feelings in the sense of trying to understand why. So a couple of days ago, I was coming back from Toronto here to Mississauga, and I didn't have a lot of clothes there. So I'm wearing whatever clothes I have, dress clothes. So I'm in a dress shirt and dress pants. And I walk outside, and I just feel weird already, uneasy, like something's off. Um, and then as I'm walking, I notice people keep looking at me, and it's normal for people to look at you as you're walking on the street. Uh, but this time I felt different. And I think it was probably just me, but I felt like an imposter. What am I doing with these clothes on? Like I got some job, like I have a career, like I am successful at anything. That's really what went through my mind at that moment. And I thought to myself, you know, they're looking at me because I'm not supposed to be representing whatever this looks like, like somebody who has a job in whatever the business world, something I've been trying to get into, getting internships, looking for internships. And it's it's something that, after applying for so many jobs for internships this summer, since January, to be honest, I became discouraged a couple weeks ago. Very discouraged. I felt like I wouldn't get anything. And, right at the moment, I'm still waiting on an interview for another opportunity. But at that point, I honestly was rethinking, like, dude, what's wrong with me? Why is nobody taking this, No one's taking me up on I think I'm a hard worker. I believe I'm a hard worker. If something I care about, I will work my utmost to achieve whatever goals are related to that. But as of late, it's felt, I don't know, maybe I'm just not good enough. Maybe we need to get better. And I don't know what it is. Um, I feel like it goes back to something about my personality. As a kid, I was very shy. Like, you couldn't order at a restaurant until I was like 12 years old. Maybe. that was that's being nice. Maybe even high school, without being extremely nervous. Just can I get the just starting over my words the entire time. And it's funny. It's funny looking back, but it it's so weird how I've changed since then. And sometimes I get back in that mode of being nervous, and I feel like that nervousness will center around just not being confident in my speaking ability, or just in myself maybe. And that sort of feeling everyone gets, right? Up and down feeling about yourself. But recently I felt that feeling again, of being not good enough for what I'm trying to get into. Do I just suck at everything? Should I focus more on one thing? And I took it upon myself to maybe take a couple to reflect on it, and after that day, when it was almost shown to me after reflecting on it. I didn't notice it in the moment. I was just feeling like literally an imposter, inferior to others who had maybe got a job, or perceivably moving forward when it feels like I'm not. But I think that obviously that is not, for me, it's not the way to go. That's not the way for me to move forward. But I think it's important to address what that was. And it kind of ties back to being able to look at the cup half full instead of half empty. Most of the time, I'm the half full kind of person, but the last few weeks were half empty. And it was difficult to have motivation to move towards something without just feeling complete, doing it out of duty rather than discipline to actually do it. You know what I mean? And it kind of goes back to what the reason why I don't feel that way anymore is kind of, I had to remind myself of why I'm doing things. And I think that's important. How do we continue forward through tough times, right? Everything has bumpy road. Life is a bumpy road, and you don't know which direction it's gonna go. So it might seem really hard right now, but in a few years you're gonna look back and say, "Wow, that was, compared to what I'm doing now, that was nothing." But it's important to address how you feel in the moment because I feel like that's a mistake to not address it and to still just let it be and try to move on without um, thinking about it. And now I'm in a much better place. You can see, I, I don't know. I guess maybe I'm coming off more cheery, coming off just feeling better. I've been feeling much better, getting up a bit earlier. You know what I mean? Working out consistently, hitting the bag, and it's honestly so much better. I feel much better. Sometimes you just need to take a break from thinking about something so much, and getting back at it is what really helped me, I guess, to get back on the horse essentially and not be demotivated, become motivated again, stepping away from it. I feel like this happens with everything, and even in creative endeavors. Whenever I'm making a song, usually I'll go 100% in and I'll be working on that song for hours and hours. I don't realize until after. And in the beginning, I'm like, wow, it sounds pretty good, man. It sounds awesome. But then I listen to it maybe a couple more hours the next day, and then the next day, and the next day as I'm working on it. Then I'm like, this sounds like garbage. It sounds horrible. I don't know. How am I going to finish this song? I don't know what to add. How do I make it sound better? How do I make it sound like others? And when you get to that point where you start comparing yourself to others, I think it's a dangerous spot when it's not in a healthy way, right? Not trying to learn from others, but comparing your achievements to other people's achievements. When we're not in the same place, we're not the same people. You can't compare in that way because there's no benefit other than there is no benefit at all. So best thing to do is take a step back, do something else for a couple hours, come back to it, brand new look, brand new feel. And I think that's the approach you need to take to life itself. Now, I'm not some guru when it comes to life advice. I'm only 20 years old, but from the life I've lived so far and what I've experienced, I think that that's the only way to move forward. Sit, understand what you're going through, understand how that you can fix it, and how do you become better. Look at the silver lining, because there's only so much negative you can look at before you think everything is right, before you become a complete pessimist. And the optimism that I've developed from reflecting on things and trying to look at it from the bright side is what has motivated me to continue. And it helps me. It reminds me of the finality of life, because in the grand scheme of things, so what? Like, I didn't get a internship in second year or first year. This year hopefully I do. But in the grand scheme, they expect people in our generation to live 80 plus, 85 plus. That's nothing. Such a minuscule decision. You'll figure it out. That's what I have to tell myself. Eventually you're gonna figure it out, and there's things that you might not want to talk about in the moment, but it's important to address it, then move on. Because life is too short. It really is. I'm reminded of that every day. Whenever I look in the mirror, I have a large scar on my chest from a surgery I had when I was in 11th grade. That in the moment I wasn't too worried about. But in hindsight, it could have been so much worse. I got super lucky. And in those moments where I didn't know if it was a problem that would have affected my life in terms of um, being horribly sick or whatever. When I was sitting there waiting for the results, I literally reflected on my entire life, 20 minutes. And by the end of those 20 minutes and before I went in, I was already accepting whether it could have been, they could have told me I'm done. Like, I have X amount of time to live, and that's it. Which is, which is weird, right? When people tell you like you had a potential near death experience, they don't, a lot of people will tell you, well, people who haven't been through it will say, that must have been scary. But for me, it was probably the most peaceful time I've ever experienced, the most peaceful minutes, because I've never thought so deeply about my life in such a short amount of time. It was so weird, and I think it comes back to that idea of finding the silver lining, finding happiness in the small things and in everything that happens, even if it is poor on the surface, right? I reflected and I thought, you know what? I've had a good family, I've had a good life. Sure, there are ups and downs. I haven't experienced a lot of things, but whatever, man. If I can't control it, then what's the point of being sad? Spend the last potential few minutes, thinking about the things you like, think people you love. And I think that's something that helps you deal with everything. That's really changed my perspective because I could have lost my life. Who knows what it could have been. But now I just have a scar to remind myself. And, every once in a while when I feel like, there's something is really bothering me and I just can't get out of it, sometimes I just have to look at my scar and just remind myself that it could have all been over at 6 or 17. Like that, right? You never know. So at that point, I really changed my perspective on things. I didn't dwell as much because I knew somewhat that it could have just been taken away like that, just so quick. And when I get to these, a point like this where I feel down on myself for not achieving something that I told myself I was going to, I got to remember that it's not the biggest deal, right? If I keep working towards something, something will happen. Um, it might not be exactly what you plan for. Rarely things are what you exactly plan for. It it's gonna turn out in whatever way it can, and I just have to accept. I have to accept it, So the message I have, I guess, for people that are listening right now is just, I know times can be really tough. I've experienced a few hard things in my life, unlike other people who have experienced their entire life being hard. Sometimes they don't even know it until they leave it, and that's their norm. But you have to be able to look at life from, the cup half full. You got to look at life through the uh, optimistic lens, because what's the point of looking at it pessimistically? Sure, it may seem stupid to be so blindly optimistic, but I think that looking at life so pessimistically is simply, I think it's an unnuanced way of thinking, where it overcomplicates life, when really, when we look at, when we're in times of stress, what do we look to and who do we look to? Our family. We think about the great experiences we had rather than material possessions. Material possessions don't necessarily create happiness, right? They can create experiences that bring you happiness. But at the end of the day, it's about being happy, right? And whatever means you take to get there is, it's fine. So message is keep your head up, keep your heads up, keep working hard, and something will turn out. It may not look exactly how you want it, but it's going to be something. You'll make it out the end. If you look, there will be a light at the end of the tunnel, and you'll make it. You'll make it out. I'm just rambling at this point. Anyway, guys, I hope you guys like this episode. It's a bit of a change. Let me know if you want to hear more of these kind of solo episodes. I can post them potentially alongside regular episodes as separate things. Just let me know your opinion on it. All right, guys, thank you again for watching. If you like this video, please give it a like, save it to your downloads. Follow us on Spotify, Instagram, YouTube at The Way Podcast. And on Instagram, it's the.way podcast. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode and, gain something from my exposition of my life right now. Yeah, thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time. Peace.